Hello friends, bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Calo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, aka Premier Pulse on social media.
Hi everyone, on today's Spotlight series, Jen explains Stevie Nicks.
Welcome to the show, grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share, you'll never feel alone.
Wow, we are really rolling on these Spotlight series, huh?
I love it.
Yeah.
I really love analyzing notable figures in history and pop culture and just seeing them through this unique lens that not a lot of people talk about, which is their astrology.
Absolutely. Now, they've become super fun. You're taking your class with, and I'm so sorry, I always forget her name, but what's her name?
Catherine Urban.
Catherine Urban, yeah. And as an exercise, you guys do this, right? You also analyze people's charts and kind of look at their transits and get a better understanding of who those people are. If you are part of any or our Patreon, we have a couple unhinged episodes on that class if you're really interested in what Jen is doing. But yeah, I'm excited for this. We're recording one day after the witches market, and I'm super tired, but it was a great success, right?
Yeah, it was so much fun. And Stevie Nicks came up a lot during the market, which I will talk about later. But I wanted to start off by saying that people have exhausted like Fleetwood Mac as a whole. I'm trying to look at Stevie Nicks specifically and her tie to the occult. So
Yeah.
I didn't cover like the band and the drama as much as I did the development of her identity as a witch.
Yeah, no, for sure. Really excited to learn about this when we sit down and come up with episode ideas. We do kind of brainstorming sessions. Usually they happen in the car or in bed. That's kind of like our place. And we were kind of rattling our brains a little bit because, again, we want to keep it to the occult. We want to keep it to just kind of those people who are in this type of like vibe and community. And you mentioned Stevie Nicks, and I said, isn't she like a singer? And I know the name. It's, I think, super ubiquitous in pop culture. I didn't realize... I forgot she was with Fleetwood Mac. I'm not the biggest Fleetwood Mac fan. I don't know too many of their songs, except like their popular ones. And the only like Fleetwood Mac thing that I can come up with is there's that funny quote in Parks and Rec where Leslie's trying to find like an outfit and her friend is helping her pick out some pants, and she's like, "Oh, those are my Fleetwood Mac pants." And it was just kind of a funny moment. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent. And then obviously Dreams blew up a couple years ago with that guy cruising on a skateboard and drinking his cranberry juice, and I think that gave him a little bit of a revamp into popular culture and introduced him to just kind of the younger generations. But it is a little before my time, even, because I wasn't really big into Fleetwood Mac growing up. So
Yeah,
super
and
excited.
As like first generation Americans, like me, I'll speak for me specifically, how I grew up. Like my parents had to learn English. I grew up on Spanish music, and then the English music that I did listen to was like 2000s R&B and new metal. It was like Spanish music, 2000s R&B, new metal. So like the older like rock and roll American stuff, I didn't learn till an adult. And yeah, I didn't know about Stevie Nicks or Fleetwood Mac until 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, same. I grew up on Spanish music. A lot of Spanish artists on that time were doing like covers. So some of the like there's this famous artist called Leodan, and he made a cover by by Pearl Jam. So there are still some like crossovers. So there are some similarities in like Spanish music, and it's interesting when you discover those. But yeah, no, same. I think definitely a little before my time. So.
Yeah, so we can start. So yes, with Fleetwood Mac, we have Stevie Nicks. Her legal name is Stephanie Stevie Nicks. She was the lead singer of Fleetwood Mac. She's the named as top 100 greatest singers and songwriters of all time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But like Rolling Stones, or probably one of those like publications?
Yeah. First woman to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice. And Rolling Stone named her the reigning queen of rock and roll.
Really?
She has a lot of accolades. Yeah, I didn't know till like I started learning about who she was in depth for this episode. Like I said, I heard of her 2 years ago in Fleetwood Mac, and then obviously that guy on the skateboard blew up, and I was like, oh, they have pretty good music.
Yeah. No, her voice is very captivating, and it's like super rhythmic. I think even if you're not really a fan of Fleetwood Mac, I think her vocals definitely have some sort of like just calming effect. I didn't really like it. You think rock and roll, you think like super heavy and like super upbeat, but like her stuff seemed really mellow just on the few couple of songs that I've heard and listened to.
Well, we're talking about 70s rock and roll.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest rock and roll fan, so disappointment to anybody who's listening to this episode and it's like, oh my gosh, they're going to talk about like my era of music. I don't know too much of those, but yeah, I guess the sound was a little more calm in the 70s.
Yeah, the rock and roll we're thinking of, it has like a 90s 2000 edge with like new metal. That's like what we think of, and no, rock and roll like in the 70s context. Anyway, fun fact, her dad was the vice president of Greyhound, the transportation company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
is she a Nepo baby? Nothing wrong with Nepo babies, by the way. I think they've gotten like a negative connotation. I think they're... Because at the end of the day, you still have to like work for it, right? And with Nepo babies, truly, they can cruise, so they have no obligation to like even go into the spotlight. I think there are some Nepo babies who do it wrong, and I think there's some babies who do it like right. But what about Stevie Nicks?
I would say no, just because her family was not in the same industry.
Yeah.
And from what I gathered, he didn't help.
Got it.
So she met Lindsey Buckingham, who was the guitarist of Fleetwood Mac when she was a part of Fleetwood Mac. They met during their senior year of high school. And he was in a band called Fritz, which ended up being quite successful. She joined the venture and she was the vocalist. They ended up opening up for Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But the band eventually broke up. They were not dating during this time, but that's how they got to know each other. So after the band Fritz broke up, it was just them, and they did a duo called the Buckingham Nicks. They released one album. They weren't quite as successful, but because they ended up doing that joint partnership, they spent a lot of time together. They ended up, getting closer and eventually falling in love. To the point where and especially where her love grew for him was when he got really sick and she had to work 2 or 3 jobs to support the both of them and their career. And through having to care and be responsible for him, she really started developing feelings for him and vice versa. And then eventually they got together. So with Fleetwood Mac, the drummer Mick Fleetwood, the keyboardist and vocalist Christine McVie, and then the bassist John McVie, they lost their guitarist Bob Welch. So Fleetwood Mac existed before Lindsey and Stevie.
Oh, okay. So, and Lindsey was a guitarist? Okay, got it.
And Stevie Nicks is on and off partner. Yeah.
Got it, okay.
So Fleetwood Mac existed before them.
Were they pretty big, you think, or were they?
They were decent. So,
and I might have missed this completely. Where are we talking? Are we talking England, U.S.?
This is the United States.
U.S. Okay. Yeah. And what state?
They were roaming around, but they were mainly in California, from my understanding.
Oh, California.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they lost their guitarist, Bob Welch, and then December 1974, the drummer, Mick Fleetwood, called Lindsey Buckingham and said, hey, we need a guitarist. We like your stuff. Come join us. But he was like, I'm not going without Stevie. Oh. You need Stevie as your vocalist.
Yeah.
Christine McVie was doing some vocals and keyboard, but he was like, we're a package deal. Take it or leave it. So that's how Stevie and Lindsey ended up joining Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really cool of, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into the drama, but really cool of him to hold them down and also be like, hey, we're a package deal. So far it seems like the dream partner. But I'm sure we're going to touch on, I don't want to say downfall, but definitely some of the more controversial things that happened. Okay, I see. And then with Stevie and Lindsay, they never, you said they had like that one, the Buckingham whatevers for like a little bit, but that never blew up too much, right?
So like senior year of high school and post high school, they were in the band Fritz, and then they broke up. And then they started their duo venture with the Buckingham Nicks. That wasn't too successful, but they kept trying. And then eventually they got a call from Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. But I just wanted to highlight their like solo venture together, or like their duet, but that didn't really take off. Can I also take a moment to pause and say these names are so entertainment like industry coded? Like, are those their real names? Lindsay Buckingham, and Stevie Nicks. Like, I mean, I guess not Stevie, but Stephanie Nicks. Like, they sound like artists, right?
Yeah, they do. I think they have great names, like very memorable. Something about it like rolls off the tongue.
It's very rock and roll for sure.
yes. So they started with the five of them.
Okay.
They started with the album Rumors, which is where we get a lot of the great hits, like Dreams, which is the one that the guy...
right off the bat, they had a commercial success. That's incredible.
Yeah. But what's ironic about this, and by this point, they had been together on and off for, I want to say like 8 years.
The band or Lindsay and Stevie?
Lindsay and Stevie.
Okay.
Yeah. So, on and off. But while they were producing, writing, creating Rumors, Lindsay and Stevie Nicks broke up.
Yeah. So from the beginning.
Yeah, pretty much. But they continued working together. And then also the McVies that I mentioned, Christine and John, so keyboard and bassist, they also broke up. And then what's this other guy's name? I'm blanking. Mick Fleetwood. He was getting a divorce. Everybody was breaking up during Rumors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to start, and that it's not a trope because it's real life, but that happens within bands, right? And I get it. I mean, I think I've never been part of a band, but I can imagine how intimate it is. I mean, you see all these like V8. Well, again, when I was growing up, they had like VH1 behind the music, so you see like all the hard work that goes into the studios, the late nights, and you're touring. Sometimes they're on tour buses, so I'm sure just with that proximity, you do end up like catching feelings for your bandmates, and I'm sure they all have that conversation like, no, we're not going to break up, and like if we break up, what does that do to the band? That happened to No Doubt also, right, with Gwen Stefani, and then I forget the drummer's name, but not a trope, but like something that has happened before in bands. But this is interesting because it's like right off the bat, like they didn't have an album, and then by the time they're making their first album, there's already so much like inner turmoil, right?
Yeah. And they were one of the most dramatic like relationships in music and rock and roll, because even like on stage they would fight. Like in front of, imagine a concert and they start bickering, like that shit would happen. And also it's the 70s. There are a lot of drugs involved.
Well, the free love and hippie movement, and all those things.
And Stevie Nicks' drug of choice was cocaine.
Okay.
And on the, I don't know about like the, what's it called when you re-release? I guess a re-release.
Like a remaster?
Yeah, remaster.
Yeah.
I don't know about the remaster, but they're in their original Rumors album, like they thank their drug dealer. Like,
really?
You know how they do acknowledgements, like thank you to so-and-so? They thank their drug dealer. So there were a lot of drugs during this time, which may have added to a lot
some of the turmoil.
Well, one of the biggest reasons cited for why Stevie and Lindsay didn't work out was a lot of drugs. I mean, she was doing drugs, but he was really, really doing drugs, allegedly.
So were they married before they joined Fleetwood Mac?
I don't know if they ever got married. Again, there's so much information on their personal life out there. I'm more just covering her witchy identity. Yeah, sure. I don't know if they were ever married, divorced, but they were together for a while, on and off, a lot of like fighting, getting back together. And unfortunately, like Stevie, her love life has just always kind of been like really cursed, and she like always chose the wrong ones. At one point, she dated Mick Fleetwood, the drummer, and it was like, what the hell are you doing? And then she had a friend that passed away, a female friend. And then like she was grieving her friend, and then the friend's widowed husband was grieving, and then they ended up together, and they broke up shortly after. They're like, what are we doing?
70s, right? The decade of peace. So
yeah,
little forgiveness based on the time. I think it was a different time. Also, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, Stevie and Lindsay started dating pretty like high school, right?
They weren't dating in high school. They started dating when they did the Buckingham Nicks.
Oh, okay, that's when they started dating.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But they were still pretty young, right? So it's that young love, so a lot of catalysts, right? Young love, drug use, and then just being kind of thrown into the spotlight, because I'm guessing they were a commercial success right off the bat, right?
Pretty soon once they joined Fleetwood Mac, yeah.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, rumors, from my understanding, like, because she was born, and we'll get into her astrology and stuff, May 26, 1948. And then rumors took off in like 1975. So when rumors was starting, she was in her first Saturn return, which we've mentioned during Saturn returns that things can be very like tumultuous. And she was born at night. I mean, 3:42 a.m. I would consider night because the sun is not visible.
Yeah.
So people that are born when the sun is not visible, they have like their Saturn returns are kind of wild. So yeah, rumors was being recorded during her first Saturn return. So I think a lot of that added to it. Moving forward in the 80s, she actually went to rehab. She said that she did so much coke, she ran out of she exhausted the cartilage in her nose. Like, it's so much drug use. But, then she lived like a pretty happy and fulfilled life. And Lindsay ended up getting like a heart attack like years later. And she sent him well wishes, but she doesn't really keep in contact with him anymore, from my understanding. So it was very like on and off. She's like in her 70s at this point. So yeah, that chapter is like pretty much closed for her. After Fleetwood Mac and all of that drama, she did have some solo musical success, but now I want to dive more into her evolution as a witch, which is like the main reason why I wanted to mention her on this podcast. So we have that one timeline of her, commercial musical success for the people like myself that maybe didn't know who Stevie Nicks was, but now we're going to go into her witch identity and its evolution.
We're going into the reason why this is the spotlight effect, even though it's super interesting, like in general, just the life.
Her personal life is interesting, and her journey as a witch is even more interesting, in my opinion.
And she's an icon. I mean, apart from all her accolades that you mentioned, we were talking to our good friend Jamie, and she, she's great. She's always asking us, like, what are you recording today? We stopped by her shop earlier, and we're like, oh, we're going to be talking about Stevie Nicks. And her, like, eyes blew up. And she's like, oh, my gosh, Stevie Nicks is such an icon. And it sounds like she's a huge fan, so I'm sure she'll be really excited. She said this is probably going to be one of her most listened episodes, so we'll see how many Stevie Nicks fans there are out there. Yeah,
so Stevie Nicks has long been associated with witchcraft. People immediately were like, she's so witchy.
Have they, though? Because I didn't know. Well, I guess I don't really know Stevie Nicks, but okay.
Yeah, no. The people that know her know. She was long associated with witchcraft, Wicca, mystical imagery, just because of mainly like her style, her aesthetic. She did gravitate to all black in the beginning and in the end. We'll talk about the middle in a minute. She's an amazing lyricist to where like how she writes, they almost sound like spells. It's so like
enchanting. Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, right? With like,
and her stage presence is like very flowy and stuff. However, she never has claimed to be a witch. This is a case where the witch life chose her almost.
Okay.
So the story really takes off in 1975. once she joined Fleetwood Mac and Rumors was being created, one of the songs on Rumors, Rhiannon, was inspired by a novel that she read, which referenced a powerful mythological character, which Stevie Nicks later clarified was more of a goddess than a witch. And again, on stage, her performances reinforced the myth that she was a witch because, again, she used mythical imagery like moons, the way that she moved. She dressed in all black. And a lot of her clothes were like shawls and the big, like, I don't know how to call it, like the bell sleeves. Like, it just looked very, very witchy. So that helped feed into the rumors. However,
now, are people claiming that she's a witch or she has a witchy aesthetic?
Both.
Okay.
Yes. And not for the better. Not like, oh my gosh, she's that witch. Like, there were some sort of crazy haters and stalkers that, like, especially
God, who like perpetuate those rumors and like, yeah,
well, there was a lot of like satanic panic and stuff during this time, or it was like starting to emerge.
70s and 80s were huge for the satanic panic.
So people that are like unwell and have like religious tendencies along with being unwell will like hyperfixate on a person that they claim to be a witch, right? So she was getting death threats and hate mail being like, you witch, blah blah blah.
So unironically it was almost like a witch hunt.
Yes.
Kind of like, okay, we have to go, okay.
And I mean, at this point she's like late 20s, early 30s. So I would say she was still pretty young, and that freaked her out because I mean, like, back then being called a witch was like kind of not great.
No, absolutely.
It didn't have the same allure and appeal, and you couldn't easily find a witch the way that you do now.
You just go on Instagram and hashtag witch talk and you're there.
Yep. So that freaked her out because imagine getting hate mail in like the 80s. It's like someone has to physically write a letter and find an address and send it. And when they
send a stamp.
And a stamp.
We tried, I mean, I'm probably being a little over-exaggerating a little bit, but we were mailing some envelopes the other day, and we're just like, oh yeah, we gotta go get stamps, don't we? And it felt like a whole ordeal. So yeah, you really must have to want to follow through.
To leave a hate comment is so low energy, but to send hate mail, that is a lot of energy. So if someone is sending you physical hate mail that they have to handwrite or like a typewriter, like, that's kind of scary because they have a lot of animosity towards you.
And they have like your address, or they have a way to get like directly to you, and like you said, they're literally taking the time to go out of their day. And
it wasn't just like one piece of mail, it was like a lot. So that freaked her out. So at one point she avoided black altogether, and she was like, you idiots, I wear black because it's slimming, stop calling me a witch, I'm not a witch. Because obviously she was freaked out, pobrecita.
Imagine like Little Nas X in those days.
I would love to see it. But yeah, she was worried her life might be in danger because of the witch rumors. But then in the early 80s, she was like, I'm more of like a natural humanist type of person. It's more for fun. I don't believe it. And she went back to black because she was like, fuck the haters, which,
for sure.
For sure.
At that point, they were sending faxes. So it was...
So with time she like got over it and even like leaned into
kind
it,
of embraced her authenticity a little bit.
You're calling me a witch, I'll show you a witch.
Okay. And
because of that, like, people were really inspired by her. They were like, yeah, we could be our like witchy, quirky selves,
live your truth.
So it started off the witch life chose her, and eventually she just said, fine, I'll become that witch that society is obviously painting me to be. And because
but again, to reiterate, to this day she has never fully come out and said like, I practice witchcraft or Wicca,
not
or
to my
identify
knowledge.
as a witch.
Not to my knowledge.
And I just want to highlight, because I do want to respect that these are, especially like, I think this is our first spotlight where the person is still alive, right?
Well, Elvira's alive.
Oh, that's right, Elvira. I forgot about Elvira. But we do the research to better understand the person. These aren't like statements on who they are, correct?
Yeah. So
sorry, Elvira, if you're listening. Fuck.
Over time, she leaned into the myth to some extent, like I was saying. And American Horror Story was like, hey, could you please appear in the season American Horror Story Coven like as yourself.
Ooh.
And it takes place in, New Orleans, Louisiana, which is very witchy. And she wasn't a character. She appeared as herself.
Wow. Did you ever watch that show?
No, I think I was in college when it came out, and I was just really busy.
I watched a couple of episodes, but I would actually be really interested in watching it with you. I think Lady Gaga had an appearance.
Yes, she did. A lot of cool celebrities.
And it's creepy. Like, it's a creepy show. I remember, because I love scary movies, and I was like, oh, this is a good show. So that's definitely something we should pick up. But yeah, I'm really excited to hear about, like, more about her, and then especially her witchiness and her chart right after these messages.
Today's episode is brought to you by us, Kythera Collective. If you've been vibing with the energy of the show, then you're going to love the Kythera Club over on Patreon. It's a space that I built for the cosmic, the curious, and the slightly chaotic. You know who you are. With 3 delicious tiers to choose from, we start with the chocolate level at $4 a month, which gains you access to weekly horoscopes and the exclusive Unhinged podcast, where I say things that don't make it to this main feed. It's sweet, it's spicy, and it's just for you. Next, we have the café level at $7 a month. This is where things really start to get cooking. You'll receive access to exclusive workshops, monthly virtual hangouts, and a private Discord community where you can chat directly with me and receive exclusive behind-the-scenes updates. It's magical, cozy, and a little unhinged in the best way. Finally, we have the tequila level. This is the VIP lounge. At $25 a month, you'll receive everything from the previous tiers, plus a personal 15-minute one-on-one session with myself or David each month, and discounts if you want to extend the session. It's a whole vibe and a powerful way to receive personalized guidance. So if you've been laughing along with us, crying, or rage screaming in agreement, come hang out with us at the Kythera Club. Head over to patreon.com/JenCalo and choose your tier. If you want to sponsor an episode and advertise with us, go to our website, www.jencalo.com. All right, now back to the show.
Welcome back. Yeah, I think to be called to, well, any show, I mean, in this case, obviously, it's like a horror kind of, obviously, witchy aesthetic, but if they're calling you to play your own character and say, like, hey, be yourself, that kind of says something, right? It speaks volumes.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough, yesterday, like we said, was the witches market, and we were talking about how we all wanted to dress and match up, and the dress code
like the vendors?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
And the dress code was literally Stevie Nicks.
Somebody said like Stevie Nicks?
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, I didn't really look up Stevie Nicks, kind of her witchy aesthetic. She looks like a 70s, like, vibe, I think, but that's probably what I was able to see was just like a couple of screenshots from some concerts. But yeah, I mean, definitely last night a lot of people were wearing black, and a lot of people were wearing like their witch hats, and it was a cool aesthetic.
And also during the break, I looked up the Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham never got married.
Oh, they never got married. Okay.
No. But yeah, so she influenced a whole generation. But again, this is a very fascinating case, and why I wanted to bring up, because the witch life chose her.
Yeah.
But that's kind of interesting, because I feel like that also happened to a few of our spotlights, like Walter and Elvira, where they were like,
they dabbled in it, and then they just embraced it.
Yeah, they were called to step to the spotlight. But in this case, she really was like, Anyway,
if we were ever to do a spotlight on you, how would you feel? Would you feel like the witchy life chose you and you embraced it?
No.
Or you were more like closeted?
I chose this life.
You chose the life. Okay.
The life didn't choose me. I chose this life.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her astrology. Yes. So she was born.
Oh, sorry. Do you know anything about what that episode was about? Her episode? Was it about witchcraft or
with American Horror Story? No, I didn't have time to watch American Horror Story when it came out, and then I just never went back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But her astrology, she was born May 26, 1948 at 3:42 a.m. in Phoenix, Arizona. So that makes her a Gemini sun, a Capricorn moon, and here's where it gets a little controversial, a Taurus rising. And I say controversial because for a long time, her birthday was quoted as, or her birth time was quoted as 3:02 a.m. instead of 3:48. So
almost half an hour makes a difference.
It made a huge difference from an Aries rising to a Taurus rising. And I was looking into why, and it turns out that the first time quoted, the 3:02 a.m., was like third hand information versus the 3:42. An astrologer, I don't know how they legally did this, but they somehow were able to petition for her birth certificate, and they have it in their possession. So
AA rating on this one?
Perfect rating because it's a government record that they were able to obtain. So yeah, a lot of witches on the internet were like, that makes so much more sense. We can't imagine her as an Aries rising, but speaking of other witches, well, I shouldn't say that. Speaking of other astrologers, shout out to our friend Alex from pinkhouse.art+design for the following astrological info that I'm going to share. So Alex is a very talented astrologer, and
she's become a close friend of ours. Right?
Yeah, and she's a close friend.
She went to Mexico recently, and she brought us both back some nice. Well, I got some jewelry, some gold jewelry, which I was like, "Ooh, this is nice." I haven't had the time to thank her in person, but there's like a little saint or something. I gotta get more info, but yeah, she's really awesome, and I'm glad we're plugging her and shouting her out.
Yeah, so not all astrologers take clients, and Alex is one of those. But Alex will start an endeavor pretty soon that will involve astrology and mysticism. So if you want to be the first to know once her business takes off, definitely follow pinkhouse.art+design on Instagram, and I'll link her Instagram in the show notes.
And just to clarify, so she did research for us in this episode, which is incredible. Like that's thank you so much. Yeah.
We were running really short on time. September was like really chaotic, and she volunteered, and I was like, yes, please. She went so above and beyond. She did 5 pages worth of research.
Wow.
Single spaced. So
thank you so much, Alex.
We can't cover all of it. Some of it is also very advanced, which we don't have the time to explain everything on the show, but I will post it on Patreon for people to view, and it'll be in public mode, meaning you don't have to pay for the information, but just to have somewhere to store it, I will be putting it on Patreon, and I will also link that in the show notes if you really want to nerd out about Stevie Nicks herself, and also her synastry with Lindsey Buckingham. So Alex did a lot of research on not only Stevie Nicks individually, but her and Lindsey Buckingham together. So yes, with that, like I said, so Gemini Sun, Capricorn Moon, Taurus Rising with this new birth information. So something interesting that she has is called a T-square. So what a T-square is you have 2 planets opposing and then 1 planet in the middle. So it looks like a T. So you have an opposition and 2 squares.
The most complicated T. You could have just gone like that.
I could have just done that. But I was trying to think of the opposing planets. Anyway, so the 3 planets that make up this T-square are Venus in her 3rd house, Neptune in her 6th house, and then the moon in her 9th house. So we're going to start with the moon. So the moon is in her 9th house of higher learning, travel, spirituality. The moon is emotions and how you feel underneath the surface. And it's very close to her midheaven, which is sort of like your purpose or what you're known for. So it indicates a person who really wants something beyond the traditional or mundane. So she was really, with the moon illuminating her point of notoriety, like she was kind of meant to be famous for sure. She was not meant for a normal 9 to 5. And there was a feeling of needing to travel, interact outside of her culture, which like Fleetwood Mac was so inspiring to the world. Like they went platinum, like they're so famous. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all of that. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is what it is, but is their name based on their drummer, essentially? Fleetwood? Because it was like their drummer's last name was Fleetwood? Or?
So the So yes, Fleetwood from the... Sorry, I'm forgetting all the other band member names. Hold on, let me go back. The drummer, yes, Mick Fleetwood.
Yeah.
And then Mac from the keyboardist and the bassist, Christine and John McAvie.
Oh, okay. So
Fleetwood Mac.
Okay,
Yes.
so like NSYNC. That's how they got their name.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it's like their last name or something. First name or last name. First letter or first letter of their first name or first letter of their last name. Something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So Stevie Nicks has Venus as her chart ruler because she's a Taurus rising, making love, beauty, and creativity central to her life because, again, Venus controls all of those things. So Venus is in her third house of communication in Cancer, which is a very emotional sign that wants to nurture people. So she's gifted at expressing these themes, and that's perfect for a songwriter. But that's why a lot of her themes or her songs are about love and heartbreak, specifically with Lindsay, and that's why she was able to easily communicate it.
Yeah. Wow, that's... Yeah, some of the best art is created, unfortunately, through pain. But it's cool that, especially artists and people who make music, they're able to take those feelings and present them in such a unique way. I love music. I don't I'm not a producer or play an instrument, but I one of my favorite pastimes is to look at behind the scene videos, so how songs were created, and you get a lot of insight into that person's psyche, and I love when they're well, I was just writing this because this is how I was feeling, and then the song blows up that. What an experience that must be, huh?
Yeah, it's you're just being true to yourself. You're not trying to chase clout, and you get recognized for it. That's amazing. That's every artist's dream. And then finally, I think one of the more important aspects in her chart, she has Neptune retrograde in her 6th house of health and daily routine in Libra, which is a partnership sign. So this can indicate a person that needs to prioritize their self-care and their mental health, and because it's retrograde, the person might stay in an unhealthy work environment for too long because they're slightly delulu that they can fix an unfixable situation. So when you don't tame that Neptune retrograde that you're born with, especially there, you can be no, I can survive in the chaos. I'm stronger than the chaos. And the 6th house is also the house of service, being of service to others. So this could also add to the pressure of being of service to the point of burnout, which is why she stayed with Lindsay for so long, even though it was so tumultuous. In their early days when they were a duo, that's why she was I'll get 3 jobs, I'll be the breadwinner, I'll support us. She did everything for him to the point of burnout.
I do want to interject there a little bit. I love that you're explaining the astrology of it all. But beyond that, I think that's such a humanistic behavior, where sometimes you kind of just have to survive. There are times where people stay in jobs longer than they have the capacity to, and no fault to them, right? You always hear well, just kind of follow your truth or follow whatever you do. Don't stay in a job longer than you need to. But it's not that easy. There are so many factors in survival in today's society that it's easy to say follow your dreams, follow your heart, follow happiness, but there are times where it's such a universal human experience to sacrifice and stay somewhere longer than perhaps even you want to, right? Because there are different factors that influence our decision. Somebody who has a family or a single parent, sure they might want to follow a dream, but what are they going to do? Not feed their family? So, obviously these people are musicians and rock stars, but I think the lived human experience beyond the astrology is something that everybody can relate to, in the sense that we do stay sometimes in situations that aren't great. A lot of people in relationships, right? People sometimes experiencing domestic violence. Their friends are really quick to be well, just leave them. Why don't you just walk away? And I think it's, yes, that's what you want for the person, and you know, it's something to aspire to just be able to like drop everything, but sometimes there are like an inescapable cycles. So I just thought it was an interesting human experience where like things aren't always as easy as like follow happiness, follow your truth. Like we have to make sometimes those like difficult decisions and stay in shitty situations. Like I'm sure it must have been super tense, and it did sound like they had a very tumultuous relationship, so staying in that probably wasn't good for her mental health or her probably even physical health, honestly. But you know, you stay in these situations, and yeah, it's really easy to go back in hindsight and say like, well, why did they stay that long? But it's like sometimes you feel like you have to, or your circumstances lead you to staying in a situation that's not good for you.
So if she were my astrology client, she has this T-square, which the T part, like the horizontal part, would be the Venus in Cancer, and then the Moon in Capricorn, and then the one more perpendicular, which I would call like the tiebreaker or the release valve for this tension with a T-square, would be her Neptune in Libra. So for anyone with a T-square, look at where it creates the square between the 2 points, so basically the bottom of the T, and focus on that to like relieve the pressure. So for her, it would be like have good boundaries, make sure you take care of your physical and mental health, and make space for you, and don't feel like you have to be of service to other people. So yeah, that's a lesson that she definitely had to learn. It got to a point where I think like, yeah, even though Fleetwood Mac ended up like everyone was arguing with each other, they were like, damn, we make good music and good money, so let's keep going.
To my point, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's not always easy. And I mean, I know we've touched on this on like earlier episodes, because I know I've said this before on this podcast, but you know, if you are in a situation where you can't get out, like don't feel shame that like you're staying in it. And I think those friends or people that are close to you that are like, well, just leave or get out. Like if they're not offering help or solutions, like words are cheap, right? And it's like, if you really care for that person, like me personally, I would like if I were to if somebody came to me and they're like, oh, I'm in a shitty situation, and they didn't ask for my opinion, I would feel like I would just support them and talk through them. But to say just like, well, just leave it. If you don't like it, leave it. Like, I don't know. It's a little dismissive of that person's situation, in my opinion. So
yeah, definitely. But she did get to a point where she did choose herself, because like, allegedly, from what people, you know, are saying, or even what Lindsey Buckingham has said, that she doesn't really like respond. She kind of leaves him on red at this point. So she has chosen herself now in many ways, not just with him, but also like with the witchcraft, right? Where it's like, or alleged witchcraft, or just embracing her style. Like, I'm not going to care about what other people think anymore. Like, I'm going to do my own thing.
Now, were all the issues just Lindsay related, or was it as a whole with like the band and the lifestyle? I guess I didn't get that clear.
Yeah, it's a whole, because it was like some of the drug use. It was like band arguing with each other.
But a big part of it was the relationship with Lindsay.
That was like one of the bigger points of tension. Yes. So yeah, unfortunately, she was, you know, part of a witch hunt, so to speak, where people were like, she's a witch, and the witch life chose her. So speaking of witch hunts, next week we're going to cover the Salem witch trials,
which I'm so surprised we haven't done that one yet, because that's like right up our alley with the types of conversations and things we cover. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, yeah, it was kind of a witch hunt, or just people getting caught up in the moment, right? I feel like there is always that generational thing that people are like, it's evil, it's bad, it's horrible. I think right now we're looking at like, we're in that transition from like cell phones and how much we are online to like AI. Like there's always like the boogeyman in the closet. And in the 80s, like that was huge. I remember the Satanic Panic, and like the other one was like the kids being kidnapped. And sometimes when you're like it's easy to want to find a scapegoat and say like, see, you're the person who represents all this like evil, and then just kind of shoving all that hate into like one person. So I really feel for her. That sounds like a really hard cross to bear.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But also super resilient, right? A lot of resilience. And I think you touched on that in her chart. Like, it's kind of like waves, just heavy things after another, and eventually it sounds like she was able to find peace with like the resilience. Yeah. And I'm guessing they just never got back together, right? Fleetwood Mac, once they had their final, when they broke up.
I mean, I think they maybe had a reunion tour. They did their remaster. Like, they got back together for like a few things, but it was really just business. Yeah. From the start, it was really just business.
Yeah.
But
no, for sure.
Speaking of witches, I am your local neighborhood witch, and we are in spooky season.
Yeah.
You can hire me for parties. I do house parties. If you want to have an awesome Halloween party this year and you're like, I want some unique entertainment, DM us for our party rates, because I love a good house party.
Yeah. You do bachelorette parties too. Which
I've done bachelorette parties. I've done weddings. I've done house parties. I've done Halloween parties. Pretty much any type of party.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. But no, great episode. I learned so much. I was really interested to see what the connection was going to be with Stevie Nicks, and I think this was a great spotlight. We are also going soon into our 100th episode. So, if you have any comments or want to let us know anything, we would love to hear from our community and our listeners, because that's coming up very shortly, isn't it?
Yeah, you could DM us, or as a reminder, a lot of people are shy, but we have a SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/Jen Explains, where you could leave us a voicemail, and we would love to hear your voice and put it on the show, so it's not just us talking.
Yeah. And how else can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, get in touch with us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, at Jen Colo and JenColo.com. And if you like the show, rate it, give it 5 stars, and share it with a friend.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening to today's Stevie Nicks episode. Really, really great spotlight.
Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place. Blessed be, and signing off. Bye.